You open the kitchen junk drawer looking for scissors. Instead, you find rubber bands, old takeout menus, loose batteries, a key that no longer opens anything, 3 instruction manuals for appliances you replaced years ago, and a charging cable that belongs to something. Nobody knows what. But the moment someone suggests throwing it away, the answer comes immediately. Don't, we might need it someday. Then there is the garage. Glass jars filled with screws, gift bags folded inside other gift bags, an old phone kept as a backup, pieces of wood left over from a project completed 12 years ago, and somewhere, usually on the highest shelf, a box labeled useful stuff. The objects seem random, but the logic behind them is surprisingly consistent. Throwing something away today could create a problem tomorrow. From the outside, this habit can look like stubbornness, cheapness, nostalgia, maybe even simple laziness about cleaning. And it is often associated with people born between 1965 and 1980. But what if they are not really saving the object? What if they are saving the possibility of being prepared? Because when someone keeps everything just in case, they may be protecting more than an old cable. They may be protecting a version of themselves who will always know what to do when something goes wrong. Every object in that drawer carries a possible future. That twist tie could organize a cord. That small piece of hardware could fix a cabinet. That plastic container could hold leftovers, screws, paint, or something that has not even become a problem yet. The future use is usually vague, but it is not impossible. And that matters. Keeping an object preserves an option. Throwing it away closes that option permanently. Psychologically, an open possibility can feel safer than a final decision, especially when the future is uncertain. The object does not have to be valuable. It only has to represent a solution you might regret losing. That is why the discomfort of throwing something away can be stronger than the inconvenience of storing it. The drawer takes up space, but it remains quiet. Regret is louder. Imagine holding an old adapter in your hand. You have not used it in 8 years. You do not remember what it connects to. Logically, you know it is probably useless, but then your mind creates a scene. Next Thursday, some device stops working. You suddenly discover that this exact adapter is the only thing that can fix it, and now you have to buy another one, wait for shipping, or ask someone for help. So you put it back, not because you expect to need it, but because you do not want to become the person who threw away the one thing that would have saved the day. This is not always about being cheap. For many people, keeping useful objects feels like a form of responsibility. A perfectly good jar should not be wasted. A shirt with a small tear can still be worn while painting. A broken appliance might contain a part that works. The object's financial value may be tiny, but its symbolic value can be much larger. It represents respect for resources. It says, I don't throw away something just because buying a replacement would be easier. For someone who grew up watching adults repair, reuse, and make things last, disposal may not feel neutral. It can feel careless. You see an empty glass jar. They see a container that has already been manufactured, purchased, cleaned, and delivered into their hands. Throwing it away seems almost irrational when it is still capable of doing its job. Of course, the problem is that there are already 17 identical jars in the cabinet. But even then, the question is not only, do I need another jar? The deeper question may be, what kind of person throws away something perfectly good? And now the object is connected to identity. This becomes especially clear the day one of those saved objects actually proves useful. A cabinet handle comes loose. Someone walks into the garage, opens an old coffee can full of hardware, and finds the exact screw needed. The repair takes 3 minutes. Then comes the sentence they have been waiting years to say, see, this is why I keep things. That single successful rescue can emotionally justify hundreds of objects that will never be used. But the pride is not really about the screw. It is about competence. The person solved the problem without buying something new, calling a professional, or depending on anyone else. The saved object becomes proof that they are resourceful, capable, and prepared. Psychologists sometimes describe this sense of capability as self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle problems when they appear. In everyday language, it is the feeling of, I'll figure it out. For many people, the box of spare parts supports that identity. It is not clutter. It is evidence that they are not helpless. And for a generation that spent much of life before next-day delivery, online tutorials, and instant access to replacement parts, that mindset could be genuinely useful. Instructions were kept because information was harder to recover. Printed phone numbers mattered because they were not automatically backed up. Maps stayed in the glove compartment because there was no blue dot showing your location. Appliances were often repaired before they were replaced. A missing fuse, unusual battery, or a small piece of hardware could create a real inconvenience. So saving things was occasionally rewarded. You kept an object, a problem appeared, and that object solved it. The mind learned a simple rule. Keeping useful things prevents future trouble, but a practical rule learned in one environment can continue operating long after the environment changes. The old cable remains, even though a replacement can now arrive tomorrow. The manual remains, even though the entire document is online. The backup phone remains, even though it no longer supports current networks. The behavior continues because habits do not automatically update when circumstances do. And because by this point, the habit may be protecting the person from something more emotional: future regret. Anticipated regret is the discomfort you feel today while imagining how badly you might feel tomorrow. You are not suffering because you need the object. You are suffering because you can picture yourself needing it after it is gone. The imagined pain of saying, "I can't believe I threw that away," can outweigh the real cost of storing it for another 10 years. At that point, the object becomes emotional insurance. It protects against inconvenience, but also against self-blame. If you keep it and never use it, the cost is spread quietly across time. A crowded drawer, a packed garage, a closet that becomes harder to open. But if you throw it away and need it once, the regret is immediate and specific. Your mind remembers that moment much more vividly than all the years the object did nothing. This is where two people can display the same behavior for completely different reasons. One person keeps containers because they use them regularly. The supply is limited, organized, and easy to manage. When the cabinet fills up, they discard the damaged ones without much distress. That is practical resourcefulness. Another person keeps every container, including cracked lids and stained bottoms. The cabinet overflows, but throwing away even one creates tension. What if I need it? What if this lid fits something? What if I regret it? That may be defensive control. The difference is not simply the number of objects. The difference is the amount of psychological freedom surrounding the decision. Can you choose to keep it, or do you feel unable to let it go? Does the object support your life, or does it temporarily calm a fear? For some people, this pattern may be connected to financial instability, shortages, sudden changes, or a household where every resource was carefully monitored. For others, there was no dramatic hardship. They simply learned that independence meant being prepared, fixing things yourself, and avoiding unnecessary waste. The same drawer can represent anxiety in one home and creativity in another. It can be fear or pride, survival or preference, protection or pleasure. That is why the habit should not automatically be treated as a diagnosis, and an entire generation should not be reduced to a stereotype. Still, the emotional reaction to letting go can reveal what the object is really protecting. Consider an old phone sitting in a desk drawer. The explanation is simple. It's a backup. But imagine removing it. What feeling appears? Is it practical concern? A memory of not having enough money to replace things? Fear of an emergency? Discomfort with depending on someone else? Or sadness connected to a previous chapter of life? Sometimes the object is not preserving its function. It is preserving a promise. The promise that you will not be caught unprepared. The promise that you will not waste what you worked for. The promise that when life becomes unpredictable, you will still have something within reach. And that leads to an uncomfortable question. Are you prepared for life, or are you afraid to trust that you can handle life without preparing for every possibility? Real autonomy is not the ability to eliminate every future inconvenience. It is the confidence that when an unexpected problem appears, you can adapt, replace, borrow, improvise, ask for help, or simply tolerate the inconvenience. You do not need a house containing a solution for every possible emergency in order to be capable. Sometimes the deeper form of preparedness is trusting the person you will be when the problem arrives. So the next time you pick up an object and hear the phrase, just in case, do not immediately throw it away, but ask a better question. What realistic situation am I preparing for? And then ask the more revealing one. What feeling appears when I imagine letting this go? Maybe the object genuinely supports your resourcefulness, or maybe it only protects you from uncertainty for a few more years. Back in the kitchen, the drawer is still full of batteries, keys, manuals, and mysterious cables. But now it looks different. It is not simply a drawer of clutter. It is a small archive of past problems, future fears, practical victories, family values, and attempts to remain independent. Some of those objects may deserve to stay. Others may have completed their job without ever being used. They helped you feel prepared during a time when preparedness mattered. Letting them go does not mean becoming wasteful, careless, or helpless. It may simply mean transferring your confidence from the object back to yourself. Because perhaps the strongest form of resourcefulness is not having every possible solution stored in a box. It is knowing that even without the box, you will probably figure something out. If you recognize yourself, or someone in your family, in that mysterious collection of cables, share your story in the comments and subscribe for more videos about the psychology hidden inside everyday habits.